If there's one thing we all know about New York City, it's that there's so many different nicknames to this place. The Big Apple, the city that never sleeps, the city so nice they named it twice. But if I have to think about one word to describe New York City, besides loud, it would be iconic. There's so many iconic landmarks here, so many iconic buildings, so many iconic people, comedians, artists that got their start here. And most importantly for today, so many iconic restaurants and food stands. And we're starting with breakfast at an all-time New York City icon here in the East Village. This New York City icon is located on Houston Street. It looks like it's pronounced Houston, but it's actually Houston. It's really confusing. But that's how you get NoHo in Soho. South of Houston, north of Houston. And Houston is really loud. Definitely got the New York hustle and bustle all around us.
420. 420.
Number 30, 30. Do a classic bagel, onion bagel, and scallion cream cheese, please. Yes. Thank you. Thanks. That place was pretty iconic and we haven't even tried the food yet.
That place has been there for over a century, but actually it was in a different location and they moved to that location in 1920. Russ was the last name and he just never ended up having any sons.
Shame.
So the three daughters worked in the shop.
We've walked over to Tompkins Square Park to try our bagel. I went for the classic bagel with lox and cream cheese. The bagel is nice and chewy. It's got a nice outside coating. It's got really, really great flavor. The lox is so salty and delicate. It just melts in your mouth. And of course I had to go with the scallion cream cheese. What a beautiful, beautiful sandwich.
The biggest reason Russ and Daughters is on our iconic tour is because they are said to have the best lox in the city. The history of lox and bagels goes so far back within the city's heritage, the city's history. It's how a lot of people start their day. And at Russ and Daughters, they have Nova Scotia smoked salmon. This is as fresh as it gets, straight from Canada. And I have to admit, I would not normally gravitate towards a smoked salmon bagel, but since it's their calling card, and since I'm here trying to experience the New York icons as much as I can, there's no way you can go into Russ and Daughters and not get the classic lox and bagel. Really, really robust flavor. There's a lot going on there. The fact that we have the scallion cream cheese too makes it pretty overpowering, but yeah, that is a flavor bomb for sure. We're continuing with our Jewish deli theme for the New York City icons. So we're going straight back to Houston Street for another iconic New York City Jewish deli. So as we're making our way to our next icon, I think one thing that I can say for sure is if you're gonna do onion bagel and scallion cream cheese, probably good to have some gum on hand. Now there's almost an overwhelming amount of icons in the city, so it was actually very difficult to just pick what we were gonna do today because you could do like 3 or 4 of these. But Katz's Deli here in the East Village is absolutely one that has to be included. This place is absolutely legendary and it's very, very popular. So anytime you come here, you're probably gonna have to wait in line. But we just hopped in line like 10 minutes ago and we're already at the front.
Tickets to order your meal, guys. You pay when you're leaving at the end. Hold on to both. Sandwiches?
Sandwiches, yeah.
Self-service or waiter?
Self-service.
Any of those colors, 1 through 8.
Sounds good. I've waited for this for months. So we've both been here before, but it's been quite a long time. Katz's has a whole process. You get your ticket when you come in. The ticket is to order your meal, so they'll write down what you have, and then you pay at the end. But you cannot lose this ticket. It's actually a $50 fine if you lose them. So make sure when you come in, put it somewhere safe. All of the deli masters are up at the cutting table, so you just have to decide which cutter you go to, 1 through 8. You can go all the way down and try to find the best line. Usually people just crowd up at the front, but coming down to 7 and 8 might be the best choice. There's a lot of options, but me personally, I feel like you've got to get the pastrami sandwich. This is just like the most classic. It's just so tender, so good. This is some of the best meat available in New York City. And it's amazing to watch them cut it. I mean, these guys know exactly what they're doing. They've been doing this for years and years. The best part about Katz is just wait till you see the size of these sandwiches and how much meat they pile on. They also give you a little sample usually when you're up there. They're cutting it, they'll just give you a little sample to try. Get your taste buds ready for this incredible experience. The sandwiches are definitely pretty pricey, between like $19 to $24, but Sydney and I are just gonna split one. Usually you can do that if you're just 2 people. It's definitely enough meat. I mean, you can just take the sandwich apart and just eat the meat itself. It's so good. And the mustard on top. I'm getting ahead of myself. I gotta order first. We found our own little corner of Katz's Deli. It's actually a challenge finding a seat usually. Believe it or not, this is not that bad as far as crowds. Sometimes there is a line all the way out the door, and once you get in, good luck finding a seat. You might have to wait even after you get your sandwich. But we settled into a really nice place. I love looking around and seeing all of the pictures of the celebrities that have been here. If you are anyone in New York City, you have been to Katz's Deli. Even like the East Coast, Boston people, Philly people, any kind of celebrity from the East Coast has been to Katz's Deli, and the walls are just loaded with these pictures. They also have a lot of like vintage beer signs, and as a Milwaukee guy, I love seeing some of my Milwaukee beers up there. Pabst Blue Ribbon, Schlitz, Miller High Life. You just can't beat the atmosphere in here. But enough talk about the actual establishment. Let's talk about this sandwich. This is the greatest pastrami sandwich in the entire world. I'm willing to go on record saying that. I understand Montreal has some good ones. I understand there's other places around the world that have good smoked meat. But you're talking about like a traditional deli-style smoked pastrami sandwich. Katz's Deli is the holy grail. And enough talking, let's dig in. So everyone has their opinion on how you're supposed to eat this. Some people just pick it up and go for it. I prefer to kind of pick my way through it because this is just really hard to eat, like as it is. So take the bread off. You've got the mustard on top, the deli-style mustard. And just piece by piece kind of work your way until you can get it to a sandwich level and enjoy every minute of it. I can't even really describe what it is, but this is so much better than any pastrami I've ever had. No matter what time of day you come here, it's moist, it's tender, it's easy to bite into, and it's got this just incredibly robust flavor. I'm having right now. And don't worry about eating with your hands. It's a very no-frills establishment. Anything goes. They also have napkins at the table, so you don't have to worry about getting too messy. All you focus on is that amazing flavor.
You can tell Max has been here before. He's got a lot of knowledge about this place. Usually we're trying foods for the very first time, so it's good to see Max in his element, and he's very passionate about his smoked meats, that's for sure.
The best and the worst part of coming to Katz is right here, the last bite. It's the best because you can savor it and appreciate the experience you just had. It's the worst because you have to go and pay afterwards. And these things are not cheap, but it's definitely worth it. Okay, now we're full. If you're on Houston Street and you make both of those stops, be prepared to have a very full belly. The next icon is the oldest Irish bar in the entire city of New York. And nothing sounds better to me than sitting down at an Irish bar and having a beer. And the best part is, at this place, there's only 2 options. You will not have to struggle looking at a huge menu full of craft beers that you've never heard of. There are 2 kinds of beer, light beer and dark beer. Those are your only options.
Let's say that table's empty, but it's not.
So, the ultimate question at McSorley's, dark or light beer? I gotta be honest with you, they're not as different as you would think. They're very similar, and this is one of the lightest dark beers I've had. I'm gonna go dark, but you can't go wrong. It's easy drinking beer, that's for sure. Sadie and I have actually been here once before, and let me tell you, it was a lot more crowded. So I think if you are just looking for the experience of coming in here and checking it out, it's probably better to come in the middle of the day. I mean, it's still crowded for the middle of the day, but man, we were in here one night and it was just packed, like shoulder to shoulder. A little something we heard that we didn't know last time is that McSorley's actually has the original New York hot dog. It's called the Feltman's hot dog. I didn't even really know they had food, to be honest with you, but this hot dog is awesome, apparently. So we got one of those as well. Any more time I can spend here in this bar, I'm totally okay with. That was really good. The hot dog itself is great. It comes on a toasted bun with sauerkraut on the top, which is a nice touch. And the mustard is really, really spicy. It's a nice brown deli style mustard. That is such a good hot dog. And again, I would never have expected it at this place. It's a very no frills establishment that's been around since 1854. You come in, you find your seat, no reservations, cash only. I would not expect them to have such an amazingly delicate and awesome hot dog with great toppings. So we were talking to the barman in there, and apparently this is the oldest bar in New York City, at least still operating. There are a few different places around the city that try to claim it, but McSorley's has proof. They opened in 1854. They're coming up on their 170th year of operation. And something tells me if you walked in there in 1957, it would look almost identical as it does right now. This Ukrainian cafe is called Veselka, which means rainbow in Ukrainian. This cozy little East Village staple has been operating for 69 years, serving all of the Ukrainian comfort food you can imagine, but we are here for one thing and one thing only, an old favorite of ours. So a really fun thing about finding all these icons in New York City is there's just so much cultural history in a lot of these neighborhoods. So the East Village, there's a lot of Ukrainian history, and having pierogies again after our time in Poland when we just became absolutely obsessed with pierogies. All right, Veselka, let's see what you got. I'm already very encouraged that we had the caramelized onions on the top to spread around and the sour cream. We are always huge fans of having a dish of sour cream to dip them in. So the traditional pierogi is always with potato, but we got cheese and we got one with sauerkraut and mushroom. The sauerkraut became one of our favorite ones over in Poland, so we had to get that. And then we got the boiled instead of the fried. The fried are just so delicious, so savory, but the boiled are a little bit more traditional, so we wanted to go that route. Wow, this literally takes us back to Krakow.
I am so stoked to be having pierogies again. It's been way too long. I'm gonna try the cheese one. A little sour cream. It's just so good. It's unreal. And that cheese is so sweet. I don't remember that. It's a very sweet cheese. But it's so nice. Oh my goodness. That cheese is so sweet. It's like a cottage cheese texture. And that's definitely like the traditional type of pierogi. Quite amazing.
Okay, that place is incredible and definitely worth the wait. If you see a line, it usually doesn't take that long, so don't be intimidated by it. And as you would expect, everything in that establishment just screams Ukrainian pride. The colors of blue and yellow are everywhere, and that was definitely a very powerful experience being here in the Ukrainian village of New York City and seeing everyone of Ukrainian heritage unite around something that connects us all. Despite our best efforts, it was impossible to visit all of the icons in a single day. But today, we are right back at it in the historic neighborhood of Harlem to pay a visit to Manhattan's Queen of Soul Food. Sylvias Restaurant in the heart of Harlem has been serving up generous helpings of good old-fashioned comfort food since 1962. This long-standing establishment has a power lineup of A-list guests constantly singing its praises. President Obama, Stevie Wonder, Magic Johnson, and Bruno Mars, to name a few. In a city full of hot debates about food, Sylvia's is almost universally regarded as the best soul food experience in New York. Just one entree at Sylvia's is enough to put you into the most glorious food coma of your entire life. This place is an absolute gem, and while Sylvia is no longer with us, her legacy lives on through her children and grandchildren, who still own and operate the restaurant. Wow, that was a very worthy inclusion in our icon tour. That was an iconic experience being in there. It's just good old-fashioned soul food, comfort food. There was live gospel music. The sweet tea was amazing, the mac and cheese. We are so full, we ate way too much, and we really only ordered an entree and a half. They give you a lot of food, and it's actually pretty good value too. But as you can see, there's so many people waiting. We got a reservation pretty much right away in the morning. But if you come on a weekend in the middle of the day, you may be waiting over an hour.
The star of the show at Sylvia's for me were the candied yams. Now, those are an absolute treat. We really only eat them on Thanksgiving, but oh my God, that was so, so good. So comforting, so filling, and I just honestly want to take a nap right now. So if you go to Sylvia's, make sure you try the candied yams.
This place is so awesome, just right in the heart of Harlem on Malcolm X Boulevard and 127th. A truly iconic restaurant in a truly iconic neighborhood of New York. We're gonna have to sit down for a second and digest all that, but that was just, beautiful meal, and we're really happy we had the opportunity to come here. Okay, we only have one more icon to show you, and it's actually all the way on the other side of New York City. We're going from Harlem to Brooklyn. But the cool thing about New York City is if you're by the train, it doesn't take that long. So we're gonna hop on the 1-2. We should be there in about 35 minutes. We'll see you there. Now, when we were going through the process of planning out this tour, we were trying to identify what are the key iconic foods specifically that are from this great city. And one of those things, without a doubt, is cheesecake. If you come to New York City and you don't get a slice of cheesecake, classic New York style cheesecake, you're missing out. And Junior's is the place to do that. Is it perhaps a little touristy? Sure, but this is an icon. This is all about icons. We're not worried about crowds and lines and all those things that you just have to deal with if you want to go to the icons. Although I think we might get lucky today. I see some open tables. Now, the traditional New York cheesecake is just the plain cheesecake, but at Junior's they have a few iconic flavors. Raspberry swirl is the absolute best. It doesn't even need a breakdown. It's just a perfect cheesecake. The consistency, the bottom layer, the raspberry.
This is so beautiful with the marble raspberry swirl in it. It looks absolutely divine. Wow. There's still some room for that, I will say. That is incredible.
And with that last bite of cheesecake, that concludes our iconic New York City food tour. With full bellies and smiles on our faces, we are gonna head back home. Now, if you got all the way to the end of this video and you're wondering, wait, New York City iconic tour and there's no pizza? What? That's not right. Well, don't worry, we agree with you. That isn't right. That's why we're gonna make an entire video just on pizza. New York City pizza tour coming up next.